This is for women who have been holding everything together and quietly wondering when it became this heavy. She woke up at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before the alarm. Again, her body didn't wait for permission anymore, just decided sleep was over. The room was still dark, her husband's breathing steady beside her, and she lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling like a stranger in her own skin. Not sad, exactly. Not angry, just absent. Like she'd been slowly erased and nobody noticed. Not even her. When did I become invisible? She thought, pulling the blanket up to her chin, even though she wasn't cold. There's a specific kind of loneliness that comes with this. You can be surrounded by people, family, co-workers, friends, and still feel like you're speaking a language no one understands anymore. Your body feels wrong. Your energy disappears by noon. You look in the mirror and think, who is that? And the worst part? You can't even explain it properly when someone asks if you're okay. Maria was 52 when she told her doctor she felt like she was disappearing from the inside out. The doctor ran blood tests. Thyroid, normal. Vitamin D, a little low, but nothing alarming. It's probably stress, he said, scribbling a prescription for better sleep hygiene. She left the office feeling more alone than when she walked in. Because how do you explain that you're grieving a version of yourself that just stopped existing? That your body doesn't feel like home anymore, and you don't know when the eviction notice was served. She started keeping a list on her phone. Small things that felt off. Forgot her neighbor's name, mid-conversation. Cried during a car commercial for no reason. Snapped at her daughter over something trivial. Then felt horrible for hours. Woke up drenched in sweat at 3 a.m., heart pounding like she'd been running. None of it made sense. But together, it made her feel like she was losing her grip. Am I going crazy? She whispered to herself one night, sitting on the bathroom floor after everyone had gone to bed. Here's what almost no one tells you about being a woman over 45. The world starts treating you like an expiration date. Not all at once, just in tiny, cutting ways. A younger colleague talks over you in a meeting. A store clerk looks past you to help someone else. Your own family starts making decisions without asking your opinion, as if you've already retired from having preferences. And your body, it stops cooperating entirely, like it's staging a protest you never signed up for. But here, the part that's hard to say out loud, the part that sits heavy in your chest at night. You start wondering if this is it, if the interesting part of your life is over. If you're supposed to just accept this quiet fade into the background. And that thought, that's the one that makes you feel like you're drowning in shallow water. Jennifer was 48 when she stopped recognizing her own handwriting. She'd been a teacher for 22 years clear, careful letters on whiteboards, grading papers every night with red pen precision. Then one afternoon, she looked down at a note she'd written to herself and couldn't make sense of it. The letters were shaky, unfamiliar, like someone else had written it. She stared at her own hand like it belonged to a stranger. That night, she didn't tell her husband. She just went to bed early, pretending she had a headache. Here's what happened instead. She started writing one sentence every morning. Just one. I am still here. Not because she believed it, because she needed to prove to herself that her hand still worked, that she could still make something recognizable, even if it was just 5 words on a scrap of paper. It wasn't a solution. It was barely even a strategy. But it was something she could control when everything else felt like it was slipping through her fingers. What if I never feel normal again? She thought, folding the paper and tucking it into her pocket. A strange thing that happens when you in the thick of it. When your body feels foreign and your mind settled. Start looking for proof that you not alone. Not inspiration, not success stories, just evidence that someone else knows what this feels like, that you're not making it up, that it's real. even if no one around you seems to understand. Diane was 54, sitting in her car outside the grocery store, unable to make herself go inside. Not because she was afraid, because she just didn't have it in her. The energy, the performance, the small talk with the cashier, the decision-making in the cereal aisle. The act of being a person who has her life together. She sat there for 20 minutes, watching people walk in and out, wondering how they did it. How they just moved through the world like it wasn't exhausting. She didn't go in that day. She drove home, ordered takeout, and told her family she hadn't felt like cooking. No one questioned it, and that, somehow, made it worse. But here's what she did do. 2 weeks later, she went to the store at 7 a.m. before the crowds, bought 6 things, got out in under 10 minutes. It wasn't the old Hertha one who could spend an hour browsing and chatting and making plans. But it was movement. It was a version of showing up that didn't break her. And that's the thing they don't tell you about starting over at this age. It's not about returning to who you were. It's about finding out who you can still become, even when you're tired. Even when you feel like you've already used up your chances. She found the box in the back of her closet on a Saturday afternoon. Old photos, ticket stubs, a journal from her 20s with handwriting so confident it almost hurt to look at. "I'm going to travel everywhere," one entry said. "I'm going to write a book. I'm going to live loud." She closed the journal and sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. Where did she go? She whispered, "This is the grief no one prepares you for. Not the loss of someone else. The loss of the person you thought you'd be by now. The dreams you set down somewhere along the way and forgot to pick back up. The passions that got buried under laundry and work emails and everyone else's needs. You wake up one day and realize you've been living on autopilot for so long, you don't even know what you want anymore. And the cruelest part? People expect you to be grateful. You have a home, a family, stability. You should be content. So why does it feel like you're suffocating?" Ruth was 51 when she bought a small sketchbook and a set of colored pencils. She hadn't drawn anything since high school, didn't even know if she remembered how. But one night, after everyone went to bed, she sat at the kitchen table and drew a single line. Then another. Not a plan, not a masterpiece. Just marks on paper because her hands needed to do something that wasn't serving someone else. She didn't show anyone, didn't post it online or ask for validation. She just did it. And the next night, she did it again. Something unexpected happened a few weeks later. She started noticing details again. The way the light hit the kitchen window in the morning, the curve of her coffee mug handle, the small crack in the wall she'd walked past 1,000 times. It wasn't that her life had changed. It was that she'd stopped sleepwalking through it. Maybe I'm not gone, she thought one morning, looking at a page covered in clumsy, imperfect shapes. Maybe I've just been quiet. And here's the thing about quiet. It's not the same as disappeared. Sometimes you need to stop performing your own life long enough to remember what it actually feels like. There's a moment that comes, if you're paying attention. Not a lightning bolt, not a dramatic revelation, just a small shift, a tiny crack in the wall you've been staring at for months. You don't feel fixed, you don't feel like your old self, but you feel something other than numb. And that something, as fragile as it is, starts to matter. Linda was 56 when she realized she'd been holding her breath for years, not literally, but in every other way that counts. Shrinking herself to fit into rooms that didn't want her, swallowing her words to keep the peace, moving through her days like she was apologizing for taking up space. One Thursday afternoon, she was in a meeting, same kind she'd sat through 100 times before it. A younger colleague cut her off mid-sentence again. And instead of letting it go, instead of swallowing it down like she always did, she said, "I wasn't finished." Her voice was steady, not loud, not angry, just present. The room went quiet for half a second. Then she finished her thought, and no one interrupted her again. It wasn't a revolution, but it was hers. "I forgot I was allowed to do that," she thought, on the drive home, hands still trembling slightly on the steering wheel. Here's what no one tells you about rebuilding at this age. It does unlook like the movies. There's no montage, no sudden transformation. It's smaller than that. It's saying no when you mean no. It's going to bed 10 minutes earlier because you need it. It's letting the dishes sit overnight because you're too tired, and that's okay. It's learning that rest is anti-laziness. The only way you survive long enough to try again tomorrow. Patricia was 49 when she started saying, "I don't know," out loud. For years, she'd forced herself to have answers, to be the one people could count on, to never admit uncertainty because that felt like failure. But one night, her daughter asked her about some future plan, some big life decision, and instead of pretending, Patricia said, "Honestly, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out too." Her daughter looked at her, surprised, then relieved. "Me too," she said quietly. And just like that, the pressure lifted. Not all of it, but enough. You don't have to have it all figured out. You never did. And the women who seem like they do, they're just better at hiding the cracks. That's all. Here's the truth, they don't say out loud. Starting over at 45, 50, 55, 60, it's not about becoming someone new. It's about finally giving yourself permission to be who you actually are. Tired, uncertain, still figuring it out. Still allowed to want things, still allowed to change your mind. Still allowed to take up space without apologizing for it. You're not too late, you're not used up. You're not invisible, even when the world tries to make you feel that way. You're just done pretending. And that's not the end of your story. That's where it actually starts.